The Get Rich Slow Club podcast is a collaboration between Tash Etchman from Tash Invest and Anna Christina from Perla. The Get Rich Slow Club acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land we record on. From coast to coast, across land, waters, and communities, we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Any advice is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you.
Welcome to the Get Rich Slow Club podcast,
where we take you from beginner to confident investor,
where we can teach you everything you need to know about investing.
So come get rich slow with us.
Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to do a fun episode on investing for kids. It's going to be two parts. This one's going to be more of a fun chat about the different ways how you both invest for kids as well. And then there'll be a second part more about platforms and specifics and fees and stuff like that. But let's start with money, wins or losses. Do you want to go first, Nick?
Oh, well, I'm not going to say no. So yes, let's go first. Okay. So this one's a bit of a weird one because it's something I said we wouldn't do, and then we did do, and then it ended up being a bit of a win. So we were going to this charity event for our kids' nippers, right? So we'd already bought this charity ticket, which you obviously do, and you get your drinks and your alternate chicken, beef meal and whatever. And so we were having a good time. And I said to Kate, my wife, before we went, not buying any raffle tickets or anything like that. We just don't need to spend the money. And of course you're there and everyone's buying raffle tickets and they're going around the table and everyone's, so we bought raffle tickets and everyone was buying this $200 pack of raffle tickets.
$200?
Yeah, I know, it's a lot of money. But the main prize was really good. It was like Coldplay, 2 nights at a hotel, all this sort of stuff. And everyone was getting all excited. So we
everything
did that.
A parent wants to do.
Coldplay, like meat.
Coldplay.
Like the band.
Oh, Coldplay. I thought you said cold plate. I was imagining a platter. Okay.
Anyway, let's bring this story to an end. So we didn't win Coldplay, but we did win $215 worth of dog training for our dogs, which we have, which is good. But our dogs are 12 and 10 and we've never trained them and they're never going to learn. But we made an in principle $15 profit on our raffle tickets. Okay, wow. So I'm putting it down as a win.
Okay.
I didn't a true financial person.
I didn't really need to spend the $200, but we did, and it went to a good cause. And I think they bought a new rubber ducky for the club. So
awesome.
Win-win.
Are you going to use the dog training though?
I suggested we give it to some friends who just bought a dog. Mm-hmm. But Kate is adamant we're going to do it, and we're going to, relearn some skills for the dog's later stage in life, which I'm not confident on. But anyway, that's us.
I didn't even introduce you. Do you want to tell us who you are and why you're here?
Yes. Hi, Nick Nicolaides is my name. I work with Anna at Perla, and which is a business that I was a co-founder of. So that's what I do every day.
Yeah, Nick's the CEO of Perla. I'm sure everyone here knows Perla already if they've listened to a few episodes at least. Amazing. Anna, what's your money win or loss?
I am going to have a Fiverr birthday party for my kid.
A what?
A Fiverr. Have you heard of this?
No.
A Fiverr party is essentially, instead of wanting gifts, you ask everyone to just donate $5 to the birthday kid, and the birthday kid can then go and choose and buy their own present. And the reason I love this is because it's more environmental. You're not just buying a bunch of stuff you don't need. It's cheaper for parents, right? Because you have to buy a $20, $30 gift. That's really hard with the cost of living crisis. And thirdly, it's my kid gets to choose something that they love from everyone. So it's a Fiverr party. I haven't been to one. It's a new thing that's happening and I'm going to start it with my group and hopefully people are on board for this.
Do you think people need to have the $5 in their wallet? Do they need to go to the ATM and get it out? Do people carry cash?
Can you get out $5? What's the minimum?
Oh no, you need to get a lot more than
$50
note. Maybe at the convenience store they'll do cash out.
Well, you can do cash out at when you go to Woolies or Kohl's. But
can you get $5?
Surely
I
you can get
cash out ever. I don't know.
Well, this is the controversial thing.
Maybe you should have a Fiverr party.
Okay,
some cash.
Everyone bring me $5. No thanks.
Or as my kid calls you, cash instead of Tash.
Fitting.
Are you talking to my friend Cash? Yes.
New brand.
Yeah.
Cash with Tash.
Yeah. My grandma calls what I do Tash investments. So I like that quite a bit. Yeah. It feels very professional.
Wait, how many people are you having to the party? Is this kid going to get hundreds of dollars? You were just inviting the whole neighborhood?
Yeah, but everyone, please bring $5. No, I don't know yet. I haven't gotten that far, but I've just got my partner on board with this Fiverr party because we just don't want a bunch of stuff that we don't need. So I'll let you know how it goes. But I'm trying to move away from just excessive things that we don't need and keep things a bit more environmental.
I've had a few messages about this recently about kids' birthday parties and how much they cost to have one, but also to attend them as well. What do you do about that, Nick? It's kind of related to investing for kids a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you can whinge and moan, but it's nice for kids to get invited. So you just got to do it.
So you're happy to like pay for a big birthday party?
Oh, I think everyone's got an idea of what is a big birthday party, but ours will be very much more hands-on in terms of like, it'll probably be at our house and we will cook. And, there are other people that value the time that they save by doing parties at a function place, which is totally valid. And to be honest, I think our kids prefer going to those ones, rock climbing or trampolining or whatever.
Water parks, high ropes.
They're the ones that I would see it. Like I go, wow, that is quite an expense. But I also see the value for parents being like, it's done. Whole thing's there. Kids aren't going anywhere. But yeah.
And it's catered. You don't have to worry about it. So you kind of have to like balance the cost versus time. Yeah. It's a hard thing to do.
If you're really worried about it, kids just like go to the park.
Yeah.
That's the cheapest one. I just recently just did a reel on this as well. And everyone had such good suggestions. But one of the cheapest things you can go is to go to the playground and just bring a cake and some snacks. And that's that. And then people can stay or go.
Yeah. And then the kids, weather's got to be good, which is a risk, but the kids have a good time no matter what.
Yeah.
So fun. I met someone who had quadruplets and crazy. But I was talking to her about what she's planning on doing and she's not sure yet. Like, how do you try and balance having a birthday party with 4 kids on the same day? Is it like all in one? Do you try and split it up? That'd be quite interesting.
Oh, so that they each feel like they've got their thing.
Yeah, because it's like hard if you've got one kid or like a few with different ages born on different days, but imagine having 4 of them.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if any of us can really talk on that topic. So
bit more niche.
Making my mind kind of crunch even just thinking about it.
Back to investing.
Yeah.
Maybe you can start, Anna. How do you think about investing for your kids? Or how many kids do you have first? What are their rough ages, if you share that?
Yeah, I have 2 kids, 5 and 2. And what I've been doing for them is since they were born, or since the first was born, I invested a bunch there. And a couple family members also contributed to that. And I've done that through a Chess-sponsored investment on Perler. And originally I was going to do 2 separate accounts for my kids. And I thought, hey, you know what? I'm just going to put it in the same one. Just let that compound. It doesn't really make a difference if they're separate or not. They're still kind of together. And that's going to be like a amount of money that's going to grow into something at some point that I'll hopefully pass on to them. But the interesting part of this whole thing is they don't know about the money. I'm not going to tell them about it. This is just something that my partner and I wanted to do aside, put that money aside, lump sums, larger amounts of money that will kind of grow. And eventually we'll pass it on to them when maybe they're buying their first property or at a later time or school. Like we're not exactly sure yet. We just know that it's on the side. Then there's the other side where we're planning on teaching them about investing, and that's smaller amounts, micro amounts, growing it and just compounding over time. So there's a 2-part process that happens in my family.
You said other people contributed to it. How did that come about? Did you tell everyone about it?
No, I didn't. I think coming from like a Croatian kind of family that wants to support each other, but also us living far away, one of the ways that some of our family members want to celebrate, because we don't have like the big parties and the birthdays because people can't fly to Australia to be with us, is they wanted to contribute monetarily. And that wasn't something that we asked for or anything. It was just out of goodwill being like, congrats, we want to celebrate you having a family and kids. So that's kind of how that happened.
That's so fun. What do you do, Nick, for your family?
Yeah, so we've had our kids grow up in like obviously a working from home environment and a business Perler that's always talking about money and investing. So they've had an interesting introduction to it, and they hear me talk to people like you all the time on the phone. So they've learned a lot by osmosis. And then so I guess what I'm saying there is we haven't done any like specific things around this is your money and we are going to go now and invest it, because they've kind of picked up on some of that stuff. But then on the flip side, they have been given money for birthdays, and our grandparents have been, generous in doing their own little bits and pieces of investing. And I didn't think that they really got it. The $20 they might get in a card, we just said, well, we're having that and that's being invested for you. And you think maybe it just evaporates for them. And then we had a moment, I don't know, with my daughter, maybe it was a year ago, but she was sort of talking about money and we're like, you don't have any money? She's like, yes, I do. Because I wasn't thinking of investing money. I was like, what money have you got to go and buy this thing down the road, whatever? She's like, no. And then she rolled out every birthday and she said, well, I get $100 at birthday time from that person, and I'm now 8 years old, so that's $800, and then I get this and then I get that. And she basically had this knowledge of, and she's like, so I think I've got about $1,100. And I'm like,
wow.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And then I was like, there may have been times where the $10 or $20 didn't quite go into the investing account. And I'm like, well, she's going to audit me one day.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. It's all good. Like, it's all good. And it might be
how
my
proud
problem.
are you?
No, very, very proud. But
proud.
again, even though it's the context of her being like, well, and to a younger brother who's 2 years younger, I've got slightly more than you because I'm older and I've had more birthday money. But, so whatever the ends justify the means. But yeah, I'll have to true up one day. But that's their understanding is that's mine. And it hasn't gone. It exists. And they may not understand all the aspects of it, but they're fiercely like, this is mine. So that's cool.
So it's fiercely theirs, but do you have separate accounts for them? Are they together? Like how?
No, it's all in the one.
Yeah. So you do the same.
Yeah.
Is it a specific account for kids or is it just your investment account?
Yeah, I mean, there'd be parts of it that are just ours as a family, and that's nominally theirs. So that's like just investments, right? And then there's parts that are done by grandparents where it is sitting in a separate account and it's named each of the grandkids. So it's a bit of both. We're never going to go probably into that level of detail with them until way down the track. I'd say it's more important for us in our perspective just to be keeping on the idea of investing, and it's not about the amount, it's the process, and this is how the world works more as well.
It's a bit twofold, isn't it? Like one side is us as parents wanting to set them up financially for success. And then the other side being like, how do we teach them along the way? What's actually going to be theirs? How much are we going to tell them about it and teach them, right?
Yeah, I mean, me as a person, I'm not super details focused on that front. Yeah. So I don't see myself, and it will happen one day, I don't see myself sitting down on the computer going, this is yours and this is the number. I'm probably, and I am a lot more focused on this is how an asset works. This is what income is. And whether that's like a rental property or whatever, not that we have one, but those concepts. And then the big concept, which is, you notice how grandparents don't go to work anymore. Well, that's because they've done this and and this is how you live off that. So they're the concepts that I think you could teach those concepts as the only concept for some time. And as long as they understand that, they go, okay, so when I'm doing something hard, whether it's working to get the money or saving the money or investing the money, it's all because it is worth something in the future. And if you can focus on that future bit, then we could all be better at that, right?
Did you let her buy whatever she wanted to buy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is the problem, right? It's also disconnected, and I'm not a details-focused person when it comes to that. So, we'll be on holidays and there'll be this one shop that they go to. And they'll be like, well, I've got that $20 back at home. And they'll probably spend that $20 3 times over because we're soft.
My parents used to give us budgets because we used to live overseas and we come back to Australia and we had to buy clothes every time we came back. And they'd be like, you need to get 2 tops, a pair of shorts, whatever it was. And you've got $100 and whatever is left over is yours. And I love those days because I would check everything and make a plan and make sure I could have the most left over. But that was such a good way of...
Yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah,
we went through this recently with my daughter where we didn't give the budget. We just said browse and pick some things. And not that we were going to buy them all, but we found ourselves in the position where she sat there for hours and there was a list of handwritten pieces on 2 clipboard worth of paper, and we were sitting there going,
regrets.
Maybe we need to shortlist this.
Yeah, amazing though. It's good to when you get to take ownership of something and it's not just like this mystical money, you've actually got an amount that you can spend.
Yeah. Needless to say, we haven't bought any of the clothes, but
yeah,
we have to at some point.
Yeah. Do you discuss business finances in front of your kids?
What do you mean?
Do you talk about how Polar is doing, if you're stressed about money, if things are going well, when you raise money? Do you discuss that openly?
No, I don't know if I discuss that openly at all, really. I mean, I think...
do you go to your wife we've raised this money, how exciting? Or I'm a bit stressed about this, or we've hired a new person?
Yeah, on things like that where I think there's a distinction between, we're working on this project or we've hired this new person. So that sort of stuff, yeah, definitely talk about those sorts of things. And then... I think the weird thing is, and the reason it's a hard question to answer is, and this is pretty much all parents, you're always working hard. And I guess I don't think about communicating differently, whether it's been a good day, bad day, hard day, slower day. It's just I'm at a constant state of what's next. So, and I don't try I'm probably not very good at it a lot of the time, but I try not to let any of that stuff ever impact. So let me put it this way. There will be days where I'm grumpier or whatever. But I would never be I'm grumpy because I'm really stressed about this thing at work. I'm just magically grumpier.
Yeah, yeah. I really liked it when my parents openly, now that I reflect back, they would talk about their pay rises or the future plans or their mortgages or whether they were going to save or put money in a term deposit and how things were going.
How old were you when that was being discussed?
I remember I was 12 when we moved from PNG to Australia, and I remember that probably the most because they were weighing up coming back to Australia for high school versus staying there. And there they paid for our schooling, they paid for our flights. Your life is really subsidized versus coming back. And I remember hearing about the pay rises and how much Dad would lose coming back. Yeah, I was quite young then. And I remember that before then as well. My parents kind of disagreeing about the plan too. But it was always just you knew what it was. It wasn't a secret.
Yeah.
And Dad would make these like decision matrices, which Mum hates. They were just spreadsheets where you ranked different things and it gave you a formula and spat out what you should do. That was all like numbers and interest rates and things like that.
Yeah. Our kids are pretty young, so they're like 4, 6 and 8. But I think they would probably more likely hear us talk about more like micro elements. Like, one of my big bugbears is waste. And so what I think, and then so my role is sometimes being like, well, we've got that in the fridge. Why don't we just buy it again? And they would definitely hear me talking about those sorts of things. And the same with them in respecting their own things, like when toys get broken or a hoodie gets lost. I'm not necessarily getting so angry about those things. I'm immediately focused on, well, that was worth $20 and where's that money going to come from and who's going to pay for that because we had to pay for that. So that's probably more where it is for me at the level of where my kids are at. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, my kids are young too, but I love hearing like when you're reflecting of being older because so much of our money stories and our money journeys are from our parents. And, Nick and I have younger kids, so they're learning through osmosis, but at their level currently.
Oh, your kid's going to be so good if listening to our podcast.
Right.
They've got such a good head start.
I mean, like just listening to Nick's daughter, thinking of like doing the mental math of how much cash, like that's probably not a thing I was doing at, how old is she? 8?
Yeah.
And she's so confident as well. Like she's been around so many adults and can just like be so confident in front of them. That's
she was at her book launch, going and
chatting to my mom.
Yeah, she's so great.
Yeah.
But those are things that I think are so important that you pick up in osmosis, right? Like as a kid, you're hearing your parents, whether they're stressed about finances or weighing up the pros and cons of moving somewhere. Those are such valuable things our kids can learn, right? Like the more we talk about money in that age specific element, like talking at age 10, 12 is very different than talking at 4 and 8, right?
Yeah.
She sounds like she's onto it. I love that she's keeping you accountable.
Yeah, but I mean, even from your reflection though, I can't imagine they just magically started talking about that stuff in front of you. They would have probably been doing stuff when you were that young and you just maybe it's buried in there somewhere, and even if it's not a real memory today, it would have been a journey for them.
Yeah, it's all building blocks. Like my almost 5-year-old says to me, Mama, can we play math? Like
perfect.
He wants to play math. It's literally just math. He wants to say what's 7 plus 3, what's 11 minus 4. And those are just, as long as I'm keeping it fun and exciting, that then translates to the coins that we have. That then translates to us going to the shops. That then translates, et cetera, et cetera. So I think even if you're starting at that young age, regardless of what you're doing, those are the building blocks of getting to that point where you're 10 or 12 and your parents are talking about their pay rise or they're talking about whether, what they should do in this financial
it's not even
situations.
like to me directly. It just like happens around the kitchen. They're just casually discussing it.
I guess there's been one thing that we've been chatting about at home, which is more around what hard work affords you, but not in a money sense, I guess. I'm curious, like when your parents were talking about the things that you've just run through, was it more around the outcome of, well, that means we'll have this many dollars in our pocket, or was it more on the, this is what it affords us as a family, i.e., better schooling or more opportunity? Or
it was more money specific, but we lived overseas where you could see how much better off your life was when you had access to money. And we lived in very like insular communities where everyone was kind of doing quite financially well. And then you'd kind of come back and be like, oh, life is very different. I had 2 different sets of grandparents. So one is quite well off. My granddad still works. He's like 87 now, still has his own company. And my other set of grandparents retired really early, spent all their super really early, have always really struggled. And it'd always be kind of comments around that. Like we want to be like grandma and granddad, not Nana and Pop. And that was kind of that reference. Like we want that better life. We don't want to be stressed. We don't want to be trying to pay the bill next week and we've spent it all on Foxtel or gambling, whatever it was. That was more, it kind of always went back to like, we don't want to be like them. We want to be like these people.
Yeah. I mean, that's really interesting. I think the thing that trips me up as a parent is I don't have a huge amount of confidence about what the jobs that our kids are going to have, right? And so I find it, and this is just me being probably a little pedantic, I find it really hard and would never say something like, well, if you don't work hard, then you won't get a good job like X.
Yeah.
Because and so the conversation is more, if you don't work hard, then you won't get to have a job that my daughter somehow, somewhere along the line, became really into New York. Never been there. Saw it in a movie.
It seems like she'd suit New York.
Anyway, so she's got this thing. So I fall back to that. Well, if when she says maths is boring at school, I'm like, well, if you don't focus on some of these things, then you might find it hard to have a job that takes you to New York or whatever. I'm finding it hard to make it real.
Yeah.
Though,
Yeah, I don't know if it was that real for us. It was more just like, achievement was really celebrated, and like it was so good if you did well at something because like everyone was really excited for you, and you lived in like such a competitive little community anyway. We used to have Christmas lights competitions, but because they were all engineers, like people would be planning Christmas lights 6 months in advance and like planning on all these programs and ordering Christmas lights in from around the world. So it was always like such a different way of life, which is great to grow up in because you could see what was possible. Like you didn't think really small. You were like, cool, you can live wherever you want and have this ridiculous Christmas light set up.
Yeah.
Very different. How did you actually decide how to invest for your kids? There's so many options out there. How did you land on actually just doing it? Was it in your kid's name or your name, did you say? Sorry.
It's in my name. You know what? When I started researching, there was no information out there, really. Like there was really no information on how to invest for your kids, what the different options are. You know, like you can do a minor account, you can invest in your own name, you can do investment bonds, you can, depending on how old your kids are, through super, you can do micro investing. Like I could not find that information anywhere. So I think at the time I was blogging, which is like how I got connected with Nick originally, just like trying to capture all this information. Eventually I decided that based on the situation and my specific needs, I wanted to do it in my name. And that's kind of how I started out. So I have a separate account that's for them. It's still in my name, but it's not mixed with my investments. So I mentally think that those are their investments is kind of how I landed on that.
Yeah. And I think that's a big learning, you know, if we just talk about from like a purely Pearler perspective, what I've seen and learned over the last couple of years, seeing customer questions, building products that try and answer them. By far, the most important thing is just having an understanding of where this fits in for your family. And I think it's really natural that some people who are more analytical and want to do the right thing, want to do the best thing, focus on what sort of account should I open for one child or multiple. And that's why we obviously have a few options because we want to cater to people. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's if we look back 5 or 10 years where investing buckets became a thing that everyone was talking about, and that was an aha moment for so many people. I think we're just at this next phase of if it helps you to, you know, and it's not a kid's bucket or a little Sally's bucket or whatever, but if it helps you to set aside some money mentally for that child, then all you're really doing is going, in my mind, within my financial space, I've got this bit which is going to incentivize me or help me. It's not the only thing I'm doing. And in fact, it really doesn't matter if it's in my account and I just track it on a spreadsheet or if it's in a special app or whatever. And I'm saying that obviously knowing that we've got multiple ways to do it, but you could just do it in your own account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and buy one ETF that you don't even own for yourself, that might be a diversified one or whatever, and you just go, that security there is theirs.
Yeah.
And start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can always change your mind as well and be like, oh, we need that now. I'll give them something else later on. Like it's all flexible from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as long as you kind of work with that flexibility, I've had parents reach out to me and be like, I kind of want to take my kids' money that they got for their birthday and put it in our offset account. Is that ethical? Like, my
parents did that. They had it on a spreadsheet and then they paid us some of the interest they saved on their offset.
Yeah. But I mean, it's another example of it's just about kind of mentally being like, this is our money. This is the kids' money. If you want to do that, right? And work out a way that works best for you. And it's going to be different for everyone.
And if the product helps you really demarcate it, great. But if you are someone who can gamify it a bit, and, you know, I personally think that we're a young family, we're not financially, you know, completely secure. We have to work we have a mortgage. We're not just sitting there counting money, right? Like most people. And I personally I want to simplify my life. So I just see it as one big pile. Or one big obligation to the bank or whatever you want to call it, right? But it's one big pile. I start there. And then, you know, there will come a time where my daughter or someone wants to be like, no, show me this now. And maybe my thoughts change on that.
I like that you have like the most simplest approach as someone who works in this space and you've got access to all the things and you've got all the knowledge behind you and you're like, no, I just want a simple option, all in one.
Yeah, but my life's pretty complicated.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, why not keep your finances simple if your life is complicated, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, again, I think there'll be a lot of parents that understand this in the sense that our life felt way more out of control a year or two ago when we had a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old or whatever, right? And every year, every 6 months, things get a little bit more under control, sort of, in your brain anyway. So what I talk about today in terms of my family is still very much in my mind. I'm still 2 years ago going, oh my God, how are we ever going to survive this early childhood, right? Mm-hmm. But
You're giving me hope.
but I'm sure it'll be really different when the kids are more at like middle school and, maybe they get their first job or whatever, and we'll evolve.
That's the part that I'm really excited about. I think I remember, I don't know if you guys had this here, but I guess you guys had Dollarmeister or whatnot, but we had the equivalent of banks coming into our schools. And at the time we had like little booklets that you would put your $3 in or your $5 and you would see it would like do a printing thing and it would come out with like,
cool.
yeah, it was like this little booklet. It comes out and then it says now you have $3.02, like that was your interest. I remember being like, how does my money make money in the bank? Like I thought that was really exciting at a really, really young age. So I'm trying to teach that concept to my kids because I think that concept in itself is really exciting. How does money make money? And then where are you investing it is a whole other story, but just teaching your kids that your money can make money is like a woo moment for little kids.
Yeah, no, I think a big thing, not so much as a parent, but in our business that we're trying to grapple with on the kids front is financial literacy on the topic is really improving. And we're talking about this and other brands are doing things that just weren't around 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have reached a point where there's enough options. And we're hopefully reaching the point where people are getting access to good general advice on how to use those products. So we've got to think like, what's next? And if you kind of put yourselves in the mindset of, okay, you've got the investing happening and you've got these children and you're trying to talk to them and teach them, but they're not going to have a physical thing like we had with the envelope. They're just not going to have it. That made it really real and they were core memories. So what can we do as parents or at Perla to try and go, we've got to jump into the void somewhere because kids are, consuming a lot of digital entertainment and education. How do we show them something that's interesting online, on your phone, that meets their attention span?
Yeah.
So I think that's what's interesting to think about what's next in terms of what can I show my kid on my phone that is safe for them to have a look at, that they can't actually trade or something, and they can have a look at it and they can look at the line and all the stuff. So I think that's kind of like from a tech perspective, what I think is interesting for us at the moment, but also as parents is like, how do I give them something that they'll have that aha moment themselves? I don't know.
Do you give them pocket money?
No.
No. Do you? Yeah, Anna? You give them coins, I think.
They have some money, but not, I'm kind of like against I was originally like, oh yeah, I'm going to give my kid pocket money for chores and then have come totally against that because it's a holistic family thing. We all have to put in effort in the house and I don't want you to be paid for something. So I think one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is creating value for my kids, or how do they create value? How do they help out in the house or do something that's not expected of them to help out, whether that's, or even just for themselves. Like if they're spending more time reading, how do I incentivize that? And maybe I can do that financially.
That.
Yeah. I'll pay you for every book.
What?
Because I'm loving these different ways about thinking about money. Money isn't just about doing the thing. You can do money in a bunch of different ways. And a big part of that is creating value, right? Like you work, you're creating value because you're employed, you're making money. How is your money making money? And how can we kind of instill those ideas into our kids, like those entrepreneurial kind of things, because so many kids are entrepreneurial. They come up with great ideas. They want, like, I remember selling my friendship bracelets. Our neighbors' kids are having garage sales. Like that's really great. And that gives them empowerment. They're learning money skills. They're learning customer service skills. This is really great for kids. So how do we instill those ideas and then support them, whether it's monetarily, for those ideas that they're coming up with?
And how do you show it to them? Like you were saying, Nick, if there isn't physical cash anymore, that'll be quite an interesting learning hurdle.
Yeah.
So what are some other ways you can talk to your kids about money? We've talked about like just openly talking about salaries, stressful things. What other ways can we talk to them about it?
A great way to talk to your kids about money is actually find out what they love. So if they're into Disney, if they're into Apple, if they're into McDonald's, actually talking to them about being able to own a piece of that company. That's a really great way where they can be like, I own that company, because they feel empowered because they are an owner. They're potentially making money off of that company. So if you're spending money at McDonald's and you're buying McDonald's and you're owning McDonald's, not saying that you should with McDonald's, but you're going to feel more excited about it. And that's where kids learn. And I think you had that experience.
My parents did that with Woolies. We didn't shop at Coles for so long. And now even when I walk into a Coles, I'm like, oh, this is forbidden. But yeah, they were like, we own Woolies, so we're going to support Woolies. And we go to Woolies. And I didn't understand shares for so long, but I knew that we supported Woolies because it benefited us.
And that was because you own shares in Woolies.
Yeah, because my dad did. Yeah. But yeah, such a good way to kind of convey it.
And that's crazy that that's still, you hold that kind of those values still now. Like
I
walking
still
into
think
Coles.
I'd like Coles better when I go in, but I still think Woolies is better, just like without thinking about it too deeply. Very interesting.
You owned it.
Yeah.
I mean, for all the talk about ETFs, I think that is the most simplest way to have the conversation.
Yeah. And you own it all. You don't have to just own the McDonald's and the Woolies. You can own it all, and the Disneys and the Teslas and the everythings.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is I actually think the gateway to investing for so many people for so many years has been buying a direct stock, right? And we've all collectively done a great job at saying, hey, actually, there might be a better way if you're getting started. But when it comes to children, weirdly, it might be something that is a good element to bring in early, and like just exactly the way you described it. So obviously everything within reason and being sensible, but you could go that step and buy the stock. You could do it via an ETF and still talk about it the same way anyway, but it'd be hard to find something as simple as that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, ETFs are too abstract almost, and it's too hard to think about it other than let's walk into Woolies and we support Woolies.
Yeah, or Disney. We're watching the Disney Channel. We're going to Disneyland. Like that's a really great way of getting kids excited about a company that they can be a part share.
I
don't know. I mean, we took our kids to Bunnings 3 times in the last 2 weeks. So, there's endless examples.
Yeah, the cars you drive as well. Yeah. What's another way you can talk to your kids about money?
I think one way that we've started or trying to start recently, it's not, you asked about allowances before, and we don't do that.
Why don't you do that?
Oh, I just don't know if we live, we don't live in an area where the kids are constantly needing to buy stuff. So it just hasn't really come up yet. Like the closest we've got is there's a convenience store across from school. And we've conditioned the kids just by saying no too many times. So they're like, well, they'll try it once a week to get something from the convenience store. And the answer is probably no. But they never know when the answer is going to be yes. So they keep asking. But we've never done the whole, well, you've got to use your pocket money for that, because we do it as a treat. Yeah. So I guess that's why we haven't done an allowance, because I just haven't seen that they've needed the money.
Yeah, I had an allowance and I think it was quite good for me, and we lived somewhere where you couldn't really spend the money, so it was more about saving it, and I was a bit competitive back then too and wanted to save more than my sister, but it was more like just the ownership thing, being like, this is mine. But it sounds like they've got that anyway with their birthday money being invested.
Yeah, I mean, who knows whether we're doing the right thing or not.
No,
but again, it's about simplifying our lives, and I don't want to have to be then doing a registry system for my kids' pocket money, and then they're like, I've had this much, why isn't there that much in there? So maybe it's just me being a bit lazy.
No, and my mum was like a stay-at-home housewife back then, and we lived in the middle of nowhere, and all the housewives I think were pretty bored, so we did a lot of fun random things.
Tash, did you have a reason for your allowance? Like, did you have to do chores, or was it just like every week you got the same thing?
We got I was in P&G, so we got 2 kina, which was $1. My sister and I got the same, which was always a bit annoying. And we just
Why was that annoying?
Because I was older.
Oh, because you're older, so you deserve more.
But it started at the same time, when we were there, for both of us. Yeah. And then, we just got to save that. I don't remember ever spending it. I probably just kept saving it forever.
We've been more focused on rewarding just, very clear, good behaviors. So I think something we've started recently, which I don't think we've embedded yet, it hasn't been going frequently, but I think there's this system of 8 stickers that you can get, and you need to have done something voluntarily that was a good thing for your sibling or the family or whatever. And I'm not talking picking up dog poo. I'm talking something where you were really helpful because you helped your younger brother or whatever.
Bringing value, right?
And so it's if you get to the 8, then I think maybe it's 8. I don't know what it is, but it's 8, and then that's $8. But you've got to get to it first, and then so there's a lot of discussion. What am I going to do with my $8? So that's as close as we've come to some sort of value system, but the transactional element has never really sat well with me. And then maybe they're not ready yet, but picking up the dog poo is one that we've tried before just because we were lazy and we'll do it and I'll give 50 cents, but nothing methodical, right?
Yeah, Mum used to pay me if I gave her foot massages, 50 cents, whatever it was.
Oh, that's good.
For a little while, yeah. Sorry, were you talking about another way to talk to your kids about money? I know we were talking about maybe mistakes or something, or ways to teach them.
Mistakes. Oh, yes. So recently, and I guess parents will be pretty familiar with this, I think. So they're playing a range of free games online, and we're constantly battling with different types of games and whatnot. Some of them are good. Some of them are maths related. So there's a particular one that's maths related. Really tried and true method of it's a free maths game. You do maths. If you get a certain amount right, then there's this element of a game to it where these mythical creatures fight each other. And if you got enough points from your maths, whatever, anyway.
That sounds great. Better than mathletics. Yeah.
My kid would love this.
It's all these little creatures. The game's called Prodigy. And the kids have been playing this for a year or two now. and it feels like they've just absolutely reached the saturation breaking addiction point of they are now going and asking like every 5 minutes, can we upgrade from the free plan to the premium plan? It's $8 a month, right? I don't even know if that's why we did the $8 thing. I think it's just a giant coincidence. But all you get for your $8 is no more maths. You get to like get a better sword for the mythical creature.
No.
And so it's completely more power to them. They've created a game that kids love playing and it's positive and it's maths and whatever. But we're having this conversation where our son's just been on and on, like 5:30 in the morning. Can we upgrade the Prodigy?
Can we have a better sword?
Seriously. It's
The sword is
and
fun.
Kate and I have been talking about it. It's like, because I was like, no way. I hate paying subscriptions and you don't even get anything for it. And she's like, yeah, but what if we, and she was the same, she feels the same way as I, but she was like, at some point she was like, well, what if we allow him to use the $8 on it and then we go away on holidays and he's not using it much and he realizes that it was a waste of money. And I said, that's a high risk, high reward play. I'm not sure. And then what if he doesn't think it's a waste of money and it turns out he's just silly?
Or what if you've forgotten about it because you're on holiday and you're
probably
not?
Well, and that, I actually said that exact thing to Kate. I was like, I'm pretty sure you've had a few subscriptions that I've said we had to cancel and then it took a few weeks or months. And she's like, So that's one where we're contemplating allowing them to make some mistakes, but I just don't know if I have it in me to allow them to make the mistake.
No. My parents were always so big on so anti-Foxtel, and they're always like, oh, that's a Nana and Pop thing. Like, we don't get Foxtel. It's not for us. We've got better places to spend our money. And they never ever gave in to Foxtel. And now I still kind of hold that belief. I'm like, oh, paying for subscriptions for TV. I don't like that. Yeah. Interesting.
Surely you have subscriptions.
Yes, but I try and hack it as well.
Let's not talk about illegal downloading.
No. When you like buy an iPhone, you get 3 months of like Apple and then you cancel it after the 3 months. And then I use like my mom's Netflix still. Or like, just ways like that. There's always like 12 months of free binge or free Disney with different things that you buy. Yeah. This has been really fun and interesting. Lots of fun little ideas in there. And we'll see if you end up getting a subscription for your sword. Quite interesting. If you had to buy one share to teach your kids about money, what would you buy?
I feel like I would just have to go with something really simple. And even though if it was purely a learning thing, I would go with, say, Aussie 200 or Aussie 300.
Okay. Not a single share? You'd go with the ETF straight away?
Yeah, I would go with that straight away. I'd find it too hard and I would nitpick and I just couldn't break my own code, I don't think, like with the sword.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect.
Fair enough. I think, I think I would maybe go with Disney. I think that's a really easy one. You know, everyone loves Elsa. Like, it's
good excuse to go to Disneyland.
I want to take the kids to Disneyland. That's on my wish list for me, I think, because I went I think I was maybe 12 when I went and I felt too old, you know, like I wish I was younger than where it's magic. So I think I'd go with Disney.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
You?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I don't have kids. They're not on my horizon at all.
Yourself. What's your Woolies?
Probably a grocery store. Maybe I like Velocity more now, so maybe Coles for the Velocity points, or maybe like a Qantas or something, but I don't fly Qantas that much. Something where it's like, no, probably a grocery store because you go there all the time. Like, it's easy. You see it every week. You can make that choice every time you drive past a Coles or a Woolies. Like, that was such a tangible thing that was part of my like weekly life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking Bunnings was the other one I was thinking of.
Because I am stuck in the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're not Samsung people. Sorry.
Yeah, Bunnings is really good because they have those like weekend kid activities. So you can just go there and there's a playground and
or even like a bank or something could work as well if there's even branches when I have kids in a few years. I don't know.
That's why I thought, I mean, I'm not advocating for the Australian stock market over others or whatnot necessarily as a long-term thing for a kid who's got a 40-year time horizon or whatever, but that basket is like every day there would be some opportunity to say, oh, and this one's in the ETF.
Yeah, we own some Suncorp and some Westpac and some,
And that ad-on TV that's selling insurance or whatever it is, that's in the ETF.
That cochlear ear implant thing. Yeah, the hearing aid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, No, it's true though. I think that's like a really good conversation to have, but there's always like one, you want to have one on your phone where you're like, oh, that one's doing bad today. I don't know, because Disney did X, Y, Z in the news,
dilemma,
right?
Yeah. I don't think I could, I think the single stock is a really interesting and simple fundamental thing to do. I just don't know if I personally could break my own.
Yeah, I don't think you need to, because you can just pretend to be like, we own Woolworths, even though Coles is in there too. You're like, this is what we're going for because it's slightly higher.
Fair enough.
Okay. Yay. Thanks. Bye.
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 Thanks so much for joining us. If you found this episode helpful, please rate us 5 stars, write a review, or share with a friend. If you're new to investing, make sure to listen to our first 10 episodes. Follow us at Get Rich Slow Club or Tash at Tash Invests or me at Ana Cristina.
This show was brought to you by Natasha Etchman, who is an authorised representative 1299881 of Guideway Financial Services, AFSL 420367, and Perla, who is an authorised representative 1281540 of Sanlam Private Wealth, AFSL 337927. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing, so make sure you check out our financial services guides and read the product disclosure statement and target market determination for any investments you're considering. See our show notes for more info.